It was December 3rd, 2025 at 2:47 a.m. when I woke up gasping for air in my Los Angeles apartment, drenched in sweat so cold it felt like ice water had been poured over my body, and Jesus stood at the foot of my bed with eyes that burned with such urgency, such desperate love mixed with holy grief, that he said words I never expected to hear. "Jonathan, they think they're waiting on me, but I'm waiting on them. And time is running out faster than they know. Not everyone who sees this message is meant to see it. Some will scroll past, some will ignore it. But you've been marked. You were meant to find this video at this exact moment. That's not coincidence. That's divine intervention. Before I go any further, I need you to do something. I need you to leave your prayer request in the comments below. I don't care how long it is. I don't care how impossible it seems. Leave it there, because what I'm about to share with you over these next 4 nights isn't just information, it's transformation. And I'm going to be praying over every single comment, every single request, because that's what Jesus asked me to do when he appeared to me that night. And listen, if you're a true believer, if you're someone who wants to go deeper with Jesus, who isn't satisfied with surface-level Christianity, who knows there's more, hit that subscribe button right now. Because YouTube doesn't show these videos to everyone. The algorithm doesn't favor messages like this. But if you subscribe and turn on notifications, you're telling God, I'm ready. I'm listening. I want everything you have for me. I know some of you know me from The Chosen. You've seen me portray Jesus in the show, and I want to be crystal clear about something. I'm not Jesus. I'm just an actor. I'm a broken man who's been given an extraordinary privilege to portray the Son of God. But what I'm about to share with you has nothing to do with acting. This isn't a script. This isn't fiction. This is the most real thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. Let me take you back to that night. December 3rd, 2:47 a.m. I had gone to bed around midnight, exhausted from a long day of filming. My apartment was dark, silent except for the distant hum of Los Angeles traffic. I'd said my prayers, the same prayers I always say, asking God to use me, to speak through me, to help me be faithful in this calling he's given me. But something woke me up, not a sound, not a noise. It was a presence. You know how you can feel when someone is watching you? How the hair on the back of your neck stands up, how your body knows before your mind catches up. That's what happened. My eyes shot open, and I was immediately, completely awake. Not groggy, not confused, wide awake. And there he was. Jesus was standing at the foot of my bed. Now, I need you to understand something. I've spent years studying Jesus. I've read everything I could get my hands on about him. I've prayed through the Gospels hundreds of times. I've worked with scholars, theologians, rabbis. I've tried to understand him with every fiber of my being so I could portray him with authenticity and honor. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for actually seeing him. His presence was so overwhelming that I couldn't move. I was frozen, not from fear exactly, but from the sheer weight of holiness in my room. The air felt thick, charged, like the moment before lightning strikes. My whole body was trembling, and I realized that cold sweat wasn't just sweat. It was like my body was reacting to being in the presence of the divine. He was more real than anything I'd ever seen, more solid, more present than the bed I was lying in, than the walls around me. His features were both familiar and impossible to fully comprehend, like trying to stare at the sun. His eyes, oh God, his eyes, they were filled with tears. Jesus was weeping, but these weren't tears of sadness alone. They were tears of urgency, of desperate love, of holy frustration mixed with infinite compassion. His face showed an emotion I'd never seen before, like a father watching his children walk toward a cliff, calling out to them while they have headphones in, unable to hear his warnings. "Jonathan," he said, and his voice broke me instantly. It wasn't loud, it didn't echo, but it bypassed my ears entirely and resonated in my chest, in my bones, in the deepest part of my spirit. It was the voice I'd been trying to imagine for years, the voice I'd been attempting to honor in my portrayal. But hearing it for real made me realize I'd never even come close. "Lord," I whispered, and I couldn't get any other words out. I was sobbing. I didn't even realize I'd started crying until I felt tears streaming down my face. "I need you to listen carefully," he said, and he moved closer to my bed. He sat down on the edge of it, and I felt the mattress compress under his weight. He was physical, real, actually there. "They're waiting," he said. "My people are waiting. They say they're waiting on me. But Jonathan, I'm the one who's been waiting, and they don't understand what they're making me wait for." I was shaking so hard I could barely speak. "Lord, I don't understand." He reached out and placed his hand on my shoulder, and the moment he touched me, warmth flooded through my entire body. The cold sweat disappeared instantly, replaced by a sensation like liquid love pouring through my veins. "1 minute," he said, and his voice cracked with emotion. "I'm asking them for 1 minute. Just 1 minute. But they can't give it to me. They won't give it to me." "1 minute?" I repeated, confused. "Lord, what do you mean?" And then he showed me. The room around me dissolved, not disappeared, but became translucent, like I was seeing through multiple layers of reality at once. I could still see my bedroom, but I could also see everything else. I saw millions of people, billions, all over the world, and I saw their mornings. I watched a woman in Ohio reach for her phone the instant her alarm went off. Before her eyes were even fully open, before her feet hit the floor, she was scrolling. Instagram, news, messages. Her face was still creased from the pillow, but her thumb was already moving, already consuming, already filling her mind with noise. "She says she loves me," Jesus said softly beside me. "She goes to church. She posts Bible verses on social media. But watch." The vision followed her through her morning, getting dressed while listening to a podcast, making coffee while checking emails, driving to work with the radio on, arriving at her desk and diving immediately into her tasks. Lunch with coworkers, more work, evening errands, dinner in front of the TV, scrolling on the couch, more scrolling in bed. "Where am I, Jonathan?" Jesus asked, and his voice was so heavy with grief I thought my heart would break. "Where in her day am I? She says she loves me. She believes in me. She's waiting for me to do something in her life. But she can't give me 60 seconds. Not one uninterrupted minute." "But Lord," I started to protest. "She's busy. She's got responsibilities. She's—" "I know," he interrupted, and now there was fire in his voice. Holy fire. "I know she's busy. I know about the job, the bills, the family, the pressures. I put her in that life. But Jonathan, she gives 60 seconds to everything and everyone else. 60 seconds to scroll past strangers' lives. 60 seconds to watch videos of cats and celebrities. 60 seconds to worry about things she cannot change, but not 60 seconds to look me in the eye and let me speak to her heart. The vision shifted, and I saw a man in Texas. He was at his kitchen table with his Bible open in front of him. Relief washed over me. Here was someone doing it right, I thought. But Jesus said, "Watch." The man was speed reading. His eyes were moving across the verses like he was trying to finish a race. 3 chapters in 5 minutes. Check that box. Close the Bible. Prayer time. 30 seconds of rapid-fire requests. Amen. Done. Off to start the day. He's reading my words like they're an obligation, Jesus said, and I heard pain in his voice, like they're a task to complete. He's not waiting for me to speak. He's not giving me space to respond. He's not letting silence settle so I can whisper to his heart. He's checking off his quiet time so he can move on to what he really wants to do. Lord, are you saying that reading the Bible is wrong? I asked, bewildered. No. And the power in his voice made my whole room shake. I'm saying, reading my words without giving me time to make them alive in your heart is like speed dating your spouse. You wouldn't race through a conversation with someone you love and then wonder why you don't feel connected. But that's what they're doing with me. 60 seconds. That's all I'm asking. 60 seconds of undivided, uninterrupted, completely present attention. Just them and me. No agenda, no list, no words prepared. Just, here I am, Lord. Speak. The visions kept coming. Faster now. I saw them everywhere. A college student who prayed for God's guidance but spent 3 hours a day on TikTok and couldn't sit in silence for 60 seconds without feeling anxious. A pastor who preached about intimacy with God but whose own prayer life consisted of prayers for his sermons, prayers for his congregation, prayers for his ministry, but never just sitting at Jesus' feet with nothing to prove and nothing to accomplish. A mother who begged God to help her troubled son, but who was so consumed with fixing, managing, and controlling that she couldn't be still long enough to hear God's wisdom about what the boy actually needed. An executive who fasted and went to Bible studies and served at church, but who filled every silent moment with podcasts and audiobooks and music because the thought of quiet, of true stillness, terrified him. They're all waiting, Jesus said, and we were back in my room now, the visions fading. He was still sitting on my bed, still looking at me with those eyes full of tears. They're all waiting for me to show up, to move, to answer, to intervene. But I've been here all along. I've been standing at the door, knocking, waiting for them to stop and open it. Not just crack it open while distracted by their phones. Not just shout, "Come in," while running to their next obligation. But to actually stop, turn, open the door, and give me their full attention. But why 60 seconds? I asked. Why is that the number? Jesus smiled then, and it was the saddest, most beautiful smile I'd ever seen. Because I know them? He said, I know that an hour feels impossible. 30 minutes feels overwhelming. Even 5 minutes feels like a commitment they're not sure they can keep. But 60 seconds? Everyone has 60 seconds. Everyone. The CEO has 60 seconds. The exhausted mother has 60 seconds. The student, the worker, the busy, the tired, the overwhelmed, they all have 60 seconds. But what they don't realize is that if they give me 60 seconds, 60 real, undistracted, completely present seconds, I can change everything. He stood up then, and the room seemed to brighten around him even though no physical light changed. Tomorrow night, he said, I'm going to show you what happens in that 1 minute. I'm going to show you what I can do with 60 seconds of true attention. But tonight, I need you to understand the urgency. Jonathan, I'm coming soon. Sooner than they think. And there are millions of my people who are going to miss what I'm trying to give them. Not because they don't love me, but because they never learned to be still. They never learned to wait. They think waiting on God means asking and then getting busy, but I'm asking them to wait with me, to sit in my presence, to let me love them, speak to them, transform them. He moved toward the window, and the first hints of dawn were starting to show on the horizon. Tell them, he said, turning back to me one more time. Tell them I'm not asking for their performance. I'm not asking for more Bible reading or more prayer lists or more Christian activities. I'm asking for them. Just them. 60 seconds of them, fully present, fully mine, fully available. Tell them that in that minute, that one single minute, I can heal what they've been asking me to heal for years. I can answer what they've been begging me to answer. I can show them what they've been desperately seeking, but they have to stop. They have to wait. They have to give me that minute. And then he was gone. Just like that, the presence lifted, and I was alone in my room with the rising sun casting orange light through my window. But I was changed, completely, utterly changed. I sat up in bed, and my whole body was trembling again, but this time not from fear or cold, from conviction, from holy urgency. Because I realized with horror and shame that I was one of them. How many times had I rushed through prayer? How many times had I read scripture while thinking about what I needed to do next? How many times had I said I was waiting on God while never actually being still enough for him to speak? I looked at my phone on the nightstand. It was 3:23 a.m. The entire encounter had lasted maybe 35 minutes, but it felt like I'd lived a lifetime. And I knew with absolute certainty that I had to share this message. Not tomorrow, not next week, now, urgently. Because people need to hear this before it's too late. Listen to me. If you're still watching this, if you've made it this far, you're one of the ones he's calling. You're one of the ones he wants to reach. And I need you to do something right now, before you go to bed tonight, before you start your day tomorrow. Find 60 seconds. Just 60 seconds. Set a timer if you need to. Turn off your phone. Close your laptop. Shut the door. And sit in silence before Jesus. Don't prepare words. Don't make a list. Don't think about what you're going to pray. Just be there. Just be present. And wait. Wait for him to speak, to move, to reveal himself. Because tomorrow night, I'm going to tell you what he showed me next. I'm going to tell you exactly what happens in that 1 minute when you truly give it to him. And I'm going to show you why this is so urgent, why he's weeping, why time is shorter than we think. But tonight, I need you to try it. 60 seconds. Can you give him that? Will you give him that? Leave your answer in the comments. Tell me honestly, when's the last time you gave God 60 seconds of completely undistracted attention, not reading, not praying words, just being with him? And if you're feeling the weight of this message, if something in your spirit is stirring, subscribe to this channel right now. Because what's coming in the next 3 nights is going to challenge everything you think you know about waiting on God. This is urgent. You were marked for this message, and the clock is ticking. I'll see you tomorrow night. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. How could I? After what I'd seen, after what Jesus had shown me, after feeling the weight of his grief and the urgency in his voice, Sleep was impossible. I sat on the edge of my bed as the sun rose over Los Angeles, watching the city wake up, watching millions of people begin their day, and all I could think was, how many of them are giving him even 60 seconds? I spent that entire day in a fog. I went through the motions, responding to emails, taking calls, running errands, but my mind was somewhere else entirely. I kept replaying his words. They're waiting on me, but I'm waiting on them. Every person I passed on the street, every driver in the car next to me at a red light, every face I saw, I wondered, are they giving him time? Do they know he's waiting? And if I'm being completely honest with you, I was terrified. Terrified that he wouldn't come back. Terrified that maybe I'd imagined the whole thing, that my exhaustion and my years of portraying Jesus had somehow created a vivid dream. But deeper than that, fear was a certainty, a knowing in my bones that what I'd experienced was more real than anything I'd ever encountered. So when midnight approached, I was already awake, already waiting. I'd prepared my room like I was preparing for a sacred guest, because I was. I'd cleaned, I'd lit a candle, I'd opened my Bible, and then I'd done exactly what he'd asked. I'd set a timer for 60 seconds, turned off my phone, and sat in complete silence. Those 60 seconds felt like an eternity. My mind raced at first. Thoughts bounced around like pinballs. Things I needed to do. Conversations I needed to have. Worries about work. Random memories. Fragments of songs. It was chaos up there. And I realized with shame how rarely I actually let my mind be still. How constantly I was filling it with noise, with distraction, with anything to avoid the discomfort of silence. But then somewhere around the 40-second mark, something shifted. The mental noise began to settle. And in that settling, in that space between thoughts, I felt him. Not physically, not yet. But I felt his presence like warm breath on my face, like arms wrapping around my shoulders, like a voice saying without words, I'm here. I've always been here. I was just waiting for you to be still enough to notice. The timer went off. 60 seconds completed, and I sat there weeping, understanding for the first time what I'd been missing for years. It was 2:33 a.m. when he appeared the second time. This time, there was no dramatic awakening, no shock of cold sweat. I was already sitting in my chair by the window, Bible open but unread in my lap, candle flickering on the table beside me. The room simply changed. The air became charged with that same electric holiness, and he was there, standing by the window, looking out at the city lights. You tried it, he said without turning around, and I could hear the smile in his voice. Yes, Lord, I whispered. I never realized how loud my mind is, how much I was missing. He turned to face me then, and his expression was different tonight. Still serious, still urgent, but there was something else. Hope, maybe. Anticipation. Jonathan, what I'm about to show you tonight will change how you understand prayer, how you understand my presence, how you understand what it means to truly wait on me. Are you ready? I nodded, unable to speak. He extended his hand toward me. Then come, let me show you what happens in that 1 minute. The moment my hand touched his, the room dissolved again, but this time, we didn't stay in place watching visions. We moved. I don't know how else to describe it. We were traveling, shifting through space and time and spiritual dimensions all at once. We stopped in a bedroom in Nashville. A woman was kneeling beside her bed, and I recognized her from the first vision. the woman in Ohio, who'd grabbed her phone before her eyes were fully open. But this was different. This was a different timeline, a different possibility. "Watch," Jesus said softly. The woman's alarm went off at 6:08 a.m. Her hand reached for her phone, that same automatic movement I'd seen before. But this time, she paused. Her hand hovered over the phone for a moment, and then she pulled it back. She sat up in bed, rubbed her eyes, and spoke out loud into the empty room. 60 seconds. Jesus, I'm giving you 60 seconds. She set the timer on her phone and placed it face down on the nightstand. Then she closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and sat in silence. I watched her face. For the first 20 seconds, she looked uncomfortable. Her eyes were squeezed shut. Her jaw was tight. Her shoulders were tense. She was trying so hard, fighting against every instinct to move, to check, to do. But then, oh God, then, something began to happen. Her face started to soften. Her shoulders relaxed. Her breathing deepened, and tears began to slide down her cheeks. "What's happening to her?" I whispered to Jesus. "I'm happening to her," he replied, in the silence, in the stillness, without all the noise of her own thoughts and plans and worries. She can finally hear me. "Watch." The woman's lips began to move, but she wasn't praying, not in the traditional sense. She was responding. It looked like she was having a conversation with someone, but I could only hear her side of it. "Really?" she whispered. You've been trying to tell me that?" Silence as she listened. "But I thought I had to figure it out myself. I thought you wanted me to be stronger." More silence, more tears. "I'm so tired, Lord. I'm so tired of carrying this alone." And then she broke. Deep, gut-wrenching sobs that shook her whole body. But they weren't sad sobs. They were release, liberation, like poison being drawn out of a wound. The timer went off. 60 seconds completed, but she didn't move. She didn't reach for her phone. She stayed exactly where she was, now openly weeping, now praying freely, now pouring out everything she'd been holding in for months. "Lord, I don't understand," I said, turning to Jesus. "What did you say to her? What happened in that minute?" His eyes were glistening with tears again, but these were different tears than last night. These were tears of joy. "For 3 months," he said, "she's been praying about a decision at work. She's been asking me for guidance, for wisdom, for a clear sign. And for 3 months, I've been trying to tell her the answer. But she never stopped long enough to hear me. She would pray, pouring out her worries and her questions, and then immediately get up and start her day. She never waited for my response, but today, in that 1 minute of silence, when she finally stopped talking and started listening, I could tell her what I've been trying to say all along." "What did you tell her?" I told her that I'm not asking her to figure it out. I told her that the situation she's so worried about isn't even the real issue. There's something deeper, something in her heart that we need to heal first. I told her that I see her exhaustion, that I know she's been trying to be strong, and that it's okay to rest in me. And I told her. He paused, emotion thick in his voice. I told her that I love her, that I'm proud of her, that she doesn't have to earn my approval or my help. And she heard all that in 60 seconds? "Jonathan," he said, taking my shoulders and looking straight into my eyes, "I'm God. I can speak eternity into a moment. I can download revelation into a heartbeat. I can heal decades of wounds in a second. But I can't do any of that if they won't be still long enough to receive it. That 60 seconds isn't about how much time I need. It's about how much time they need to quiet their minds and hearts enough to hear what I've been shouting at them all along. The scene shifted, and we were somewhere else, now. A man's office. Late at night. I recognized him too. The pastor from the first vision. The one who prayed for his sermons and his ministry, but never just sat with Jesus. But again, this was different. This was what could be. He was sitting at his desk, head in his hands. I could see the exhaustion radiating off him, the weight of ministry pressing down on his shoulders like a physical burden. His church was growing. His sermons were popular. People were getting saved, but he was dying inside. Watch what happens when he stops performing for me and just comes to me, Jesus said. The pastor looked at his watch. 11:47 p.m. He had a sermon to prepare for Sunday. He had 3 counseling sessions tomorrow. He had a board meeting to plan for. The list was endless. But something in him broke. He pushed away from his desk, got down on his knees on the floor of his office, and spoke out loud. Jesus, I can't do this anymore. 60 seconds. Just you and me. No ministry, no church, no agenda. Just be with me, please. He set a timer and closed his eyes, and Jesus, the Jesus standing beside me, smiled and walked over to the kneeling pastor. He knelt down in front of him, took his face in his hands, and whispered something I couldn't hear. The pastor's eyes were still closed, but his whole body reacted. His breath caught. His hands, which had been clenched in fists, slowly opened. Fresh tears, different from the tired tears he'd been crying moments before, began to flow. Jesus leaned forward and pulled the pastor into an embrace, holding him like a father holds a son who's been away too long. What are you telling him? I asked, my own voice thick with emotion. I'm telling him that I'm not disappointed in him, Jesus said, still holding the weeping pastor. I'm telling him that he doesn't have to produce results for me to love him. I'm telling him that I called him to shepherd my people, not to build an empire. I'm telling him that it's okay to be tired, that I never asked him to be me. I just asked him to know me. And I'm telling him that if he'll give me these 60 seconds every day, I'll give him rest for his soul, clarity for his calling, and power for his ministry that doesn't come from his own strength. The 60 seconds ended, but the pastor stayed on his knees, now sobbing openly, now experiencing something he hadn't experienced in years, genuine encounter with the living God, not as a minister, not as a leader, but as a beloved son. We moved again, faster now. Jesus showed me scene after scene, possibility after possibility of what happens when his people give him that 1 minute. A teenage girl struggling with depression who'd been contemplating suicide, giving Jesus 60 seconds in her bathroom before school. In that minute, he spoke life over her, reminded her of her purpose, showed her that the pain was temporary, but his plans for her were eternal. She walked out of that bathroom with hope she hadn't felt in months. An elderly man dying in a hospital, afraid of what came next, giving Jesus his last 60 seconds of clear consciousness. In that minute, Jesus showed him heaven, let him glimpse the joy waiting for him, and removed every trace of fear. He died 3 hours later with a smile on his face, a businessman on the verge of making an unethical decision that would have destroyed his company and his family, taking 60 seconds to sit in silence before signing the contract. In that minute, Jesus showed him the consequences, gave him the courage to walk away, and opened a door to an opportunity that would save everything. A mother with a rebellious son, taking 60 seconds before their next confrontation. In that minute, Jesus showed her that her son wasn't rejecting her. He was crying out for a kind of love she hadn't learned to give. He showed her how to reach him. That 60-second prayer changed their entire relationship. "Do you see?" Jesus said to me as the visions continued to flow. "Do you see what I can do with 1 minute? They think they don't have time for me, but the truth is they can't afford not to give me this time. That 60 seconds is the most powerful, most productive, most life-changing minute of their entire day. In that minute, I can prevent disasters, heal wounds, answer prayers, give direction, provide peace, restore hope, but only if they give it to me, only if they stop." We were back in my room now. Jesus was pacing, his hands moving as he spoke, and I could feel the intensity building. "Jonathan, I need you to understand the scope of what I'm showing you. This isn't just about personal peace or individual blessing, though it's those things too. This is about my kingdom. This is about my purposes in the earth. There are destinies waiting to be fulfilled, callings waiting to be activated, prayers waiting to be answered, miracles waiting to be released. And all of it is being held back because my people won't be still." He stopped pacing and turned to face me directly. "Tomorrow night," he said, and his voice dropped to almost a whisper, "I'm going to show you what happens when they don't give me that minute. I'm going to show you the cost of their busyness, the price of their distraction. And Jonathan, it's going to be harder to watch than anything you've seen so far. But you need to see it. They need to know what's at stake." He moved toward the window again as dawn began to break. "Tonight, I showed you the possibility, the potential, the promise. Tomorrow, I'll show you the warning. And then on the fourth night, I'll give you the solution, the practical way forward, the specific instructions for how this works." He looked back at me one more time before the presence began to fade. "Tell them tonight that I'm not asking for sacrifice. I'm offering opportunity. I'm not demanding their time. I'm inviting them into my presence. And in that presence, in that 1 minute of true connection, everything changes. Everything." And then he was gone again. I sat in my chair as the sun rose, feeling like I'd been turned inside out. The weight of what he'd shown me, the beauty of those transformations, the power of what could happen in 60 seconds. It was overwhelming. But more than that, I felt the urgency increasing. Because if this is what's possible when people give him that minute, what are they missing when they don't? What opportunities are passing them by? What words from God are they not hearing? What miracles are they not experiencing? Listen to me. If you watched last night's video and you tried the 60 seconds, tell me in the comments what happened. Did you hear him? Did you feel him? Did something shift in you? And if you didn't try it yet, I'm begging you, do it tonight, before you watch tomorrow's video. Because what I'm going to share tomorrow is going to be intense, and you need to experience the beauty of his presence before you see the cost of his absence. 60 seconds. Set your timer. Turn off every distraction. And just wait. Don't talk at him. Wait for him. Don't bring your list. Bring your heart. Don't try to impress him. Just be with him. Because tomorrow night, everything gets more serious. Tomorrow night, he's going to pull back the curtain on what's really happening when his people are too busy to wait. And I'm warning you now, it's going to break your heart the way it broke mine. But you need to see it. We all need to see it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on those notifications. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And most importantly, Give him that minute. The clock is ticking, and he's waiting. I'll see you tomorrow night. I want to tell you that I was ready for the third night. I want to tell you that after seeing the beauty of what happens when people give Jesus those 60 seconds, I was prepared for whatever he was going to show me next. But I wasn't ready. Nothing could have prepared me for what I saw on December 5th, 2025, at 3:17 a.m. I'd spent the previous day reading through your comments. Hundreds of you tried the 60 seconds. Hundreds of you experienced something. Some of you felt his peace for the first time in years. Some of you heard his voice speaking directly to situations you'd been wrestling with. Some of you just wept as you realized how long it had been since you'd actually been still in his presence. But there were other comments too. Comments from people who said they tried it but felt nothing. Comments from people who said they don't have time for this. Comments from people who were offended, who said I was being legalistic, who accused me of putting unnecessary burdens on believers. And it was those comments, those dismissals, those rejections that I kept thinking about as midnight approached on that third night. I did my 60 seconds at 11:30 p.m., and this time, it was different. This time, instead of peace, I felt dread, heavy, oppressive dread settling over me like a weighted blanket. I knew, somehow I just knew, that what Jesus was going to show me tonight would be the hardest thing I'd ever witnessed. I tried to sleep. I couldn't. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, feeling that dread growing heavier with each passing minute. And when 3:17 a.m. came, when that presence filled my room again, I actually felt afraid for the first time. Jesus appeared, but he looked different tonight. His face was set like flint, his jaw was tight, and his eyes, those eyes that had been filled with tears and hope, now burned with something I can only describe as righteous grief mixed with holy anger. "Jonathan," he said, and his voice was like thunder contained in a whisper. "Are you ready to see what they're choosing instead of me?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to ask him to show me something else, anything else. But I nodded. "Then watch," he said. "Watch what happens when they scroll instead of wait." The room vanished, and we were standing in a home in Phoenix. A woman, maybe 35, married, 2 kids, was lying in bed at 6:15 a.m. Her alarm had gone off 15 minutes ago, but she'd hit snooze 3 times. Now she was scrolling through Instagram, still half asleep, her thumb moving automatically through an endless feed of other people's lives. "Look at her face," Jesus said quietly. I looked. Her expression was blank, almost zombie-like. Scroll, scroll, scroll. A photo of someone's vacation, a meme, an advertisement, an influencer selling something, a political post that made her angry, a friend's achievement that made her jealous. Scroll, scroll, scroll. "How long has she been doing this?" I asked. 23 minutes, Jesus replied. "And watch what happens next." The woman finally put down her phone and got out of bed. She was rushed now, stressed, running late. She yelled at her kids to hurry up. She snapped at her husband about something trivial. She drove to work already exhausted, already irritated, already defeated, and the day had barely begun. "Now watch this," Jesus said, and the scene rewound like a video playing backward. We were back at 6 a.m. the moment her alarm first went off. But this time I watched a different version of events unfold. A version where she didn't reach for her phone. A version where she sat up, took a breath, and gave Jesus 60 seconds. In that minute of silence, I watched her face transform. The stress lines around her eyes softened. Her breathing regulated. And when she opened her eyes and started her day, she was different. Patient with her kids, kind to her husband, peaceful in traffic, ready to face whatever came. "Do you see?" Jesus asked, and there was anguish in his voice. "Do you see what she traded? She traded peace for poison. She traded my presence for pixels. She traded transformation for distraction. And she doesn't even know what she lost because she's never experienced what she could have had." "But Lord," I said, "it's just social media. It's just scrolling. Is it really that serious?" His eyes flashed, and I physically stepped back. "Just scrolling?" he said, and the room shook with the power in his voice. "Jonathan, do you understand what's happening in those minutes? Do you understand what they're allowing into their minds, their hearts, their spirits?" He waved his hand, and suddenly I could see what he saw. I could see the spiritual reality behind the physical act of scrolling. Every image, every post, every video was like a doorway, and through those doorways were streaming influences, impressions, comparisons, anxieties, lusts, jealousies, fears. I watched as spirits of comparison whispered, "You're not good enough," when she saw a friend's perfect family photo. I watched as spirits of discontent whispered, "You deserve better than this," when she saw someone's new house. I watched as spirits of fear whispered, "The world is ending," when she saw the news headlines. And all of it was happening in the time she could have been with Jesus, being filled with truth, peace, love, and purpose. "This is what they're choosing," Jesus said. "This is what they're giving their first moments to. Not me, not my voice, not my truth, but the voices of 1,000 strangers, algorithms designed to addict them, content created to manipulate them. And then they wonder why they're anxious, why they're depressed, why they feel empty, why they can't hear my voice anymore." The scene shifted rapidly now. Jesus was showing me person after person, scenario after scenario. A man who spent 30 minutes every morning reading news articles about political conflicts, filling his mind with rage and division, when Jesus was trying to give him a mandate to be a peacemaker in his community. But he never heard it, because he never gave Jesus even 60 seconds to speak. A teenager who spent 2 hours before school watching videos and scrolling through feeds, absorbing messages about who she should be, what she should look like, what she should want, messages that contradicted everything Jesus had created her to be. She was developing an eating disorder, anxiety, and depression, and Jesus was screaming her true identity at her every morning, but she couldn't hear him over the noise. A retired man who filled his empty days with TV and internet, numbing his loneliness with constant content consumption, when Jesus was waiting to give him purpose, to show him that his most important ministry years were still ahead of him. But the man never stopped long enough to hear the assignment. A young mother overwhelmed with the demands of raising children, who escaped into her phone during every free moment, scrolling through the lives of people who seemed to have it all together. Jesus was trying to tell her that she was exactly the mother her children needed, that her imperfect love was perfect for them, that he was proud of her, but she never created space to hear it. "Stop," I said, tears streaming down my face. "Please, Lord, stop. I can't watch anymore." But he didn't stop. "You need to see this," he said firmly. "They need to know what they're losing. They need to understand what's at stake." The visions continued, But now they were showing me something even more devastating: the ripple effects. I watched a father who chose scrolling over 60 seconds with Jesus, and in that choice, he missed a prompting to have a specific conversation with his son. That missed conversation meant his son made a decision 6 months later that altered the trajectory of his entire life. 1 minute with Jesus could have changed everything. I watched a woman who was so consumed with her online life that she missed a divine appointment. Jesus had orchestrated a meeting at a coffee shop with someone who desperately needed encouragement, someone who was on the verge of giving up, someone she was specifically equipped to help. But she was late because she'd been scrolling, and the appointment never happened. That person gave up 3 weeks later. I watched a pastor spend his mornings reading church growth articles and scrolling through what other megachurches were doing instead of sitting in Jesus' presence. He built a large ministry using marketing techniques and entertainment, but he never heard Jesus' specific instructions for his unique calling. 20 years later, his church was big but spiritually empty, and he couldn't figure out why. "Do you see the scope now?" Jesus asked, and I could hear him fighting to control his emotion. "Do you see that this isn't just about their personal peace? This is about my kingdom. This is about assignments that don't get fulfilled. This is about divine appointments that don't happen. This is about words I'm trying to speak that never get heard. This is about power I'm trying to release that never gets activated. All because they won't give me 60 seconds. We were back in my room now, and Jesus was pacing again, his hands clenched into fists. "Jonathan, I'm going to tell you something that my people don't want to hear, but they need to hear it. I'm not competing with their jobs, their responsibilities, their legitimate obligations. I understand those things. I ordained those things. But I am competing with their phones. I'm competing with their entertainment. I'm competing with their endless consumption of content that adds nothing to their lives. And right now, Jonathan, I'm losing." He stopped pacing and looked at me with an intensity that made me want to look away, but I couldn't. "I'm losing the battle for their attention to algorithms. I'm losing the battle for their first thoughts to news feeds. I'm losing the battle for their peace to posts from people they barely know. And the tragedy, the absolute tragedy, is that they're defending it. They're justifying it. They're saying they don't have time for me while spending hours on everything else. But what about the people who say they did try the 60 seconds and felt nothing?" I asked. "What about the ones who say it doesn't work for them?" Jesus' expression softened slightly, but the intensity remained. "Do they expect to develop a relationship in 1 minute after years of neglect?" he asked. "Do they expect to hear clearly after filling their minds with so much noise that they can't recognize my voice anymore?" "Jonathan, the 60 seconds isn't a magic formula. It's a starting point. It's the beginning of retraining their minds to be still, their hearts to be present, their spirits to be attentive. Some will hear me immediately because they're desperate enough and I'm merciful enough. Others will need to persist, to practice, to push through the discomfort of silence until they remember what my voice sounds like." He sat down on my bed, and the weight of exhaustion seemed to settle on him. Not physical exhaustion, but the exhaustion of a God who's been reaching for his people while they reach for everything else. "Tomorrow night," he said quietly, "I'm going to give you the full instruction. I'm going to tell you exactly how this works, what to do in those 60 seconds, how to build from there. I'm going to give you a 30-day challenge that will revolutionize their lives if they'll actually do it. But tonight, I needed them to see the cost. I needed them to understand what they're losing. He stood up and walked to the window. The city was starting to wake up below us, and I wondered how many of those people waking up were reaching for their phones instead of reaching for him. Tell them this, Jesus said without turning around. Tell them that I'm not angry with them. Tell them that I understand the addiction, the compulsion, the habit. Tell them that the enemy has been very strategic in making distraction feel normal and stillness feel strange. But tell them that I'm calling them out of that. I'm calling them back to me, and tell them that time is running out. He turned to face me then, and his eyes were wet with tears again. Tell them that I'm coming soon, Jonathan, sooner than they think. And when I come, I'm looking for a people who know my voice, who recognize my presence, who have learned to wait on me. I'm looking for a people who chose me over the noise, who gave me their attention even when it was uncomfortable, who valued 60 seconds with me more than 60 minutes with the world. Tell them that on the last night, I'll give them everything they need. But first, they need to count the cost. They need to see what they're losing. They need to feel the weight of this. And then he said something that shook me to my core. Tell them that some who hear this message won't be alive in 30 days. Tell them that some won't have tomorrow to start. Tell them that this moment, right now, might be their last chance to respond to my call. Tell them that I'm not trying to scare them. I'm trying to save them. The presence began to fade, and I called out, Lord, wait. How do I make them understand? How do I make them see? His voice came from everywhere and nowhere. You can't make them see, Jonathan. You can only show them what I've shown you. Some will respond. Some won't. But you have to tell them anyway. You have to sound the alarm, because I'm coming, and I'm not waiting anymore. And then he was gone, and I collapsed on my bed, sobbing so hard I thought I might break apart, because I realized, truly realized, that this wasn't just a message about prayer or spiritual disciplines or personal growth. This was a warning, an urgent, desperate warning from a God who loves his people so much that he's giving them every chance, every opportunity, every wake-up call to turn back to him before it's too late. I don't know how long I laid there crying. Eventually, the sun rose, and I had to pull myself together because I knew what I had to do. I had to make this video. I had to tell you what he showed me, even knowing that some of you would reject it, some of you would be offended, some of you would click away. But I also knew that some of you would hear it, some of you would feel the weight of it, some of you would recognize the voice of the shepherd calling you back. Listen to me. I need you to be brutally honest with yourself right now. How much time did you spend on your phone today? How much time scrolling, watching, consuming? And how much time did you spend with Jesus? Real time, present time, undistracted time? I'm not asking you to feel guilty. Guilt doesn't produce change. But I'm asking you to wake up, to see what Jesus sees, to understand what you're trading. Tomorrow night is the final night. Tomorrow night, Jesus is going to give me the complete instruction, the how, the when, the what. He's going to give me a challenge for you, a 30-day roadmap that will change everything if you'll commit to it. But tonight, I need you to just sit with what you've heard. I need you to let it sink in. I need you to ask yourself, what am I choosing? What am I losing? And am I willing to change? Comment below and tell me honestly, What did you feel watching this? Did something convict you? Did something break in you? Are you ready to make a change? And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who's drowning in distraction, someone who's lost their connection with Jesus, someone who's too busy for God, but never too busy for their phone, share this with them, tag them, send it to them, because we're running out of time. Tomorrow is the final night. Tomorrow, Jesus gives us the answer, the solution, the way forward. But it only works if you show up. It only works if you're willing. The clock is ticking. He's waiting. And so am I. I'll see you tomorrow night for the final message. It's December 6th, 2025, and this is the final message. I'm sitting here recording this at 6:47 p.m., and I'm not going to wait until tonight to share what Jesus showed me early this morning, because what he gave me at 2:58 a.m. wasn't just for me. It was for you. And every minute I wait to deliver it is another minute that someone who needs this message doesn't have it. Let me tell you what happened. I went to bed last night, or tried to, carrying the weight of everything he'd shown me over the previous 3 nights. The beauty of what's possible, the tragedy of what's being lost, the urgency of the hour. I felt like I was being crushed under the responsibility of it all. How do you tell people that God is waiting for them? How do you convince someone that 60 seconds could change everything when they're so convinced they don't have time? How do you sound an alarm that's loud enough to wake people up, but not so loud that it drives them away? I prayed for hours. Lord, I can't do this. I don't have the words. I don't have the authority. I'm just an actor. I'm just a broken man who's been given a privilege I don't deserve. Who am I to tell people how to pray? Who am I to call them out of their distractions? And at 2:58 a.m., he came for the 4th and final time. But this time, everything was different. There was no dramatic appearance, no visions, no supernatural transport to other places. He simply sat down in the chair across from my bed, and he looked at me with such tender compassion that I started crying before he even spoke. "Jonathan," he said softly, "you're asking the wrong question. You're asking, 'Who am I?' when you should be asking, 'Who is he?' You're worried about your adequacy when you should be confident in mine. I didn't choose you because you're perfect. I chose you because you're willing, and that's all I've ever needed." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped together, and he spoke to me like a friend speaks to a friend. "Now," he said, "are you ready to hear what I want you to tell them?" I nodded, grabbing the journal I'd kept by my bed every night, my hand shaking as I prepared to write. "Tell them this," he began. "Tell them that the 60 seconds is just the beginning. It's the doorway, not the destination. But every journey has to start somewhere, and this is where we start, with 1 minute of choosing me over everything else." He stood up and began to walk slowly around my room, and I wrote as fast as I could, capturing every word. Here's what I want them to do. For the next 30 days, starting today, not tomorrow, not next week, but today, I want them to give me the first 60 seconds of their day, before the phone, before the bathroom, before the coffee, before anything else touches their mind. I want to be first. "But Lord," I interrupted, "what if they have kids who need them immediately? What if they have emergencies? What if—" He held up his hand, smiling gently. "Jonathan, I'm not unreasonable. I'm not asking a mother to ignore a crying baby. I'm not asking someone to skip helping a family member in crisis. What I'm asking is that before they choose to pick up their phone, before they choose to turn on the TV, before they choose to fill their mind with the world's noise, they give me 60 seconds. That's all. 60 seconds of complete presence. He sat back down and looked at me intently. Here's exactly what I want them to do in those 60 seconds. And I want you to write this down, word for word, because this is the instruction they need. I wrote as he spoke. The 60-second encounter, daily practice. Second one, 10, acknowledgement. When you wake up, before you do anything else, sit up or stay lying down. It doesn't matter. Close your eyes if that helps you focus, and simply say, out loud or in your heart, Jesus, I'm here. This minute is yours. Speak to me. That's it. No fancy words, no religious language. Just show up and acknowledge my presence. Second, 11:30, silence. This is the hardest part for most of them, but it's the most important. For 20 seconds, say nothing. Think nothing. Just be. Just wait. Let the mental noise settle. When thoughts come, and they will come, don't fight them. Just let them pass like clouds and return your attention to my presence. Feel me in the room. Feel my love surrounding you. Feel the weight of my attention on you. Second, 31-50, listening. Now, with your mind settled and your heart present, listen. Don't listen for words necessarily, though sometimes I'll speak in words. Listen for impressions. Listen for a sense of direction. Listen for peace or conviction. Listen for me to highlight something, a person, a situation, a scripture, a memory. Whatever I bring to your mind in this moment is what I want to address with you today. Second, 51-60, response. In the final 10 seconds, respond to whatever I've shown you. If I've given you peace, receive it with thanksgiving. If I've shown you someone's face, commit to praying for them today. If I've brought conviction, acknowledge it and agree to address it. If I've given you a word or a direction, say yes to it. Don't plan it all out. Just say yes. This final moment is your agreement with me about the day ahead. Jesus stopped talking and watched me finish writing. Then he said, that's the 60 seconds. That's the foundation. But here's what I want you to tell them about what happens next. The 30-day transformation. Tell them that if they'll do this, if they'll give me this 1 minute every single day for 30 days, I will transform their lives. Not might, not maybe. Will. Because I'm not limited by time, Jonathan. I'm not bound by their productivity or their efficiency. I can do in 60 seconds what years of striving couldn't accomplish. He began to list specific promises, and I wrote them down. Week 1, days, 107, the awakening. In the first week, I'll wake up their spiritual senses. They'll begin to notice me throughout their day in ways they haven't in years. They'll start to recognize my voice. They'll become aware of my presence in ordinary moments. The noise in their mind will begin to quiet. The anxiety they've been carrying will start to lift. They'll find themselves thinking about me at random times, not out of obligation, but out of genuine desire. Week 2, days 8-14, the revelation. In the second week, I'll begin to reveal things to them, answers to prayers they've been praying for months or years, clarity about situations that have been confusing, insight into relationships that have been difficult. They'll start to see patterns they've been missing. I'll show them things about themselves, both areas that need healing, and gifts they didn't know they had. This week will be intense, because revelation requires response. Week 3, days 15-21, the resistance. Tell them that week 3 will be the hardest. This is when the enemy will fight back. this is when they'll face the most resistance from their schedule, from their family, from their own mind telling them this isn't working or isn't worth it. This is when distractions will intensify, when they'll be most tempted to skip days, when they'll question whether any of this is real. But tell them this: if they push through week 3, if they remain faithful through the resistance, they'll break through to something they've never experienced before. Week 4, on days 22, 30, the revolution. By week 4, if they've stayed faithful, they'll be different people. Not perfect people. I'm not promising perfection, but transformed people. They'll have a hunger for my presence they didn't have before. That 60 seconds will start to feel too short, and they'll naturally extend it to 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Not out of obligation, but out of desire. They'll start to crave silence instead of fearing it. They'll hear my voice with clarity. They'll move through their days with peace and purpose. And Jonathan, here's the most important part. They'll begin to bear fruit, real fruit, changed relationships, answered prayers, fulfilled purposes, divine appointments, impact in their spheres of influence. Jesus stood up again and walked to the window. Dawn was just beginning to break. Tell them that at the end of 30 days, they'll look back and not recognize who they were at the beginning. Tell them that this isn't about forming a habit. It's about fostering a relationship. The 60 seconds is the doorway, but what's on the other side of that door is infinite. He turned back to me, and his face was serious again. But now, Jonathan, I need you to tell them the warning. I need you to tell them what happens if they don't respond. Tell them that today is December 6th, 2025. Tell them that I want them to commit to this practice for 30 days, which means they'll complete it on January 5th, 2026. But tell them this: some who hear this message won't make it to January 5th. Some will run out of time before they complete the 30 days. And tell them that I'm not saying this to scare them. I'm saying it to wake them up. Jesus' voice became intense, urgent. Tell them that I've been patient, but patience has a limit. Tell them that I've been calling, but there comes a time when the calling stops. Tell them that I'm returning soon, sooner than most of them believe. And when I come, I'm looking for people who know me, who hear me, who wait on me. I'm not looking for people who know about me. I'm not looking for people who serve me out of duty. I'm looking for people who love me, who prioritize me, who've learned to be still in my presence. He walked over to where I was sitting and placed his hand on my shoulder. Tell them that 30 days from now, on January 5th, 2026, I want them to come back to this video and leave a comment telling me what happened. Tell them to report their transformation. Tell them to testify about what I did in those 60 seconds every day. Tell them that their testimony will encourage others, will build faith, will create a movement. And tell them that if they miss even one day in those 30 days, they don't quit. They simply restart. This isn't about perfection. This is about persistence. This is about choosing me again and again and again until choosing me becomes as natural as breathing. Jesus sat back down, and his tone became more conversational, more practical. Now, I know what they're thinking. They're thinking about their schedules, their obstacles, their specific situations. So give them these practical instructions. For parents with young children, do it before your feet hit the floor. The moment you wake up, before you get out of bed, give me 60 seconds right there. Your children can wait 60 seconds. The house can wait 60 seconds. If a child needs you urgently, tend to them first. I understand that. But if they're sleeping or playing safely, give me that minute first. For night shift workers, it doesn't have to be morning. Give me the first 60 seconds of your consciousness whenever that happens. If you wake up at 3 p.m., that's your morning. The principle isn't about time of day. It's about first fruits. It's about giving me the first, not the leftovers. For those who say they're not morning people, I made you. I know you're not a morning person. I'm not asking you to suddenly become one. I'm asking you to give me 60 seconds before you give that time to anything else. You can be groggy. You can be half asleep. Just be present for 60 seconds. I can work with groggy. I can work with tired. I just need your attention. For those who travel frequently, hotel room, airplane, car, wherever you are, that's where we meet. I'm not confined to your bedroom or your prayer closet. I'm everywhere. Set your phone alarm for 60 seconds if you need to. The location doesn't matter. Your presence does. For those who keep failing, tell them this is the most important one, Jonathan. Tell them that I'm not keeping score. Tell them that if they fail on day 3, they start again on day 4. If they fail on day 15, they start again on day 16. The enemy wants them to believe that one missed day ruins everything, that imperfection disqualifies them. But I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for direction. I'm looking for a heart that keeps turning back to me, even after failure. Jesus stood up one final time, and I knew our encounter was coming to an end. Jonathan, tell them this. I'm making them an offer. 60 seconds a day for 30 days. And I'll give them a life they didn't know was possible. I'll give them peace that surpasses understanding. I'll give them direction for their path. I'll give them power for their purpose. I'll give them intimacy with me that they've been longing for, but didn't know how to find. But they have to choose it. I won't force it. I won't manipulate them. I'm offering, but they have to receive. He walked to the door of my room, and his hand rested on the doorknob. Tell them that some will respond immediately. Those are my hungry ones, my desperate ones, the ones who know they need me more than they need their next breath. Tell them that some will hesitate, will think about it, will plan to start tomorrow. Tell those ones that tomorrow isn't promised. Tell them that if they feel any stirring in their spirit right now, any conviction, any desire, that's me knocking, and they need to open the door today. And tell them that some will reject this message entirely. They'll say it's legalistic. They'll say, I'm more gracious than this. They'll say they have freedom in Christ and don't need rules. Tell them that they're right. They do have freedom. They're free to choose distraction over my presence. They're free to choose the world's noise over my voice. They're free to choose everything else over me. But tell them that freedom without intimacy is just isolation dressed up in religious language. He opened the door, and golden light flooded into the room. One more thing, Jonathan. Tell them that I love them. Tell them that this whole message, all 4 nights, every vision, every warning, every instruction, it all comes from love. I'm not a harsh taskmaster demanding their time. I'm a father who misses his children. I'm a friend who wants to talk to them. I'm a savior who has things to tell them that could change everything. Tell them I'm waiting. Tell them I've been waiting, and tell them I won't wait forever. And then he was gone, and I was sitting in my room as the sun rose on December 6th, 2025, holding a journal full of instructions that could change the world if people would just receive them. So now I'm talking directly to you. You've watched all 4 nights. You've heard the message. You've seen the visions, the warnings, the promises, and now you have a choice to make. Are you going to be one of the ones who responds? Are you going to be one of the ones who says, "Yes, Lord, I'll give you 60 seconds"? Or are you going to be one of the ones who nods along, feels moved for a moment, and then goes back to exactly how you've been living? I need you to do something right now. Right now, not later. I need you to make a commitment. Type in the comments, "I'm in." Starting tomorrow morning, December 7th, 2025, I'm giving Jesus 60 seconds every day for 30 days. And then I need you to mark your calendar for January 5th, 2026. On that day, I want you to come back to this video and leave another comment telling us what happened. Tell us how Jesus met you. Tell us what he spoke. Tell us how you changed, because here's what I believe. I believe that if even 100 of you do this faithfully for 30 days, we're going to see a revival. I believe that your testimonies are going to encourage thousands of others. I believe that this simple practice, this 60-second daily encounter, is going to spark a movement that spreads around the world. I'm doing this with you. Starting tomorrow morning, I'm committing to this practice. And I'm going to post updates. I'm going to share what Jesus is showing me in those 60 seconds. I'm going to be transparent about the days it's hard, the days I face resistance, the days I experience breakthrough. Find someone else who's committing to this and partner with them. Text each other every morning. Did you give him your 60 seconds? Hold each other accountable. Encourage each other. Pray for each other. I can't say this enough. We're running out of time. I don't know how I know that, but I know it in my bones. Jesus is coming soon. Events are accelerating. The world is changing faster than we can keep up with. And the only way we're going to navigate what's coming is if we know his voice, if we're intimate with his presence, if we've learned to wait on him. This isn't optional anymore. This isn't a nice addition to your Christian life. This is survival. This is preparation. This is essential. 60 seconds. That's all he's asking for. You have 60 seconds. You waste 60 seconds a dozen times a day on things that don't matter. On scrolling past posts you'll forget in 10 seconds. On watching videos that add nothing to your life. On worrying about things you can't control. Give him 60 seconds. Give him the first 60 seconds of your day and watch what he does with the remaining 86,340 seconds. It's 7:23 p.m. now. I've been recording this for over 30 minutes, pouring out everything he gave me this morning. My voice is shaking. My eyes are full of tears because I know that some of you are going to respond. Some of you are going to take this seriously. Some of you are going to give Jesus that minute, and your life is going to change forever. But I also know that some of you won't. Some of you will close this video and immediately pick up your phone to scroll. Some of you will think about doing it, but never actually start. Some of you will try for a few days and then give up. And I'm begging you, don't be that person. Don't be the person who heard the voice of God calling and chose to ignore it. Don't be the person who saw the door opening and decided to stay where you were. Don't be the person who had the chance to encounter Jesus daily and traded it for things that won't matter in eternity. 60 seconds, starting tomorrow. December 7th through January 5th. 30 days that could change everything. Are you in? Comment below. Make the commitment public. Let your yes be yes. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, someone who's lost their way, someone who's distracted, someone who's forgotten what it means to wait on God, share this with them right now. Send them all 4 parts. Pray for them. Invite them to join you in this 30-day journey. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because I'm going to be posting updates throughout these 30 days. I'm going to be sharing testimonies from people who are experiencing transformation. I'm going to be praying for everyone who commits to this practice. This is it. This is the message Jesus gave me. I've delivered it as faithfully as I know how. Now it's up to you. The clock is ticking. He's waiting. What are you going to choose? I'll see you in the comments. I'll see you on January 5th when you come back to testify about what God did. 60 seconds. Starting tomorrow. Let's do this together for His glory and your transformation. Amen.